Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is match preview showtime as we look forward to Saturday's game at the Poundland, formerly known as Bescott Stadium, as Keith Millen's Gillingham take on Matt Sadler's Walsall. And I'm pleased to say that I'm joined by Sadler's fan Rob Harvey for tonight's preview show. You can find him on the Twitter or X or whatever you call it these days at the Rob Harvey. I'll put his details in the description at the bottom of the video. Rob, pleasure to have you on. Appreciate your time. Understand you just got in from work.
Yeah, no, pleasure to be on. I spoke to you last year. I enjoyed it. So, yeah, it's a lot better than being at work. Rushed home and here we are.
Talking football, yeah. And I just want to say, before we go any further, that talking football has been a massive help, distraction for myself over the last few days. And I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to absolutely everybody who's replied, retweeted, shared, just generally got in touch and responded to my post that initially went out a couple of days ago about mental health. And as I always say, it's not put out for sympathy, even though I have got some, which is greatly appreciated. It is there for awareness. And if I can help one man open up on his feelings, then I am doing my little bit. And if that then in turn turns to someone else helping someone else, and so on and so on, we are all doing our bits. So thank you very much. It has not gone unnoticed. I've not replied to every single post, but I can 100% guarantee you that because I'm off work this week, I've read every single one of them. And I do mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. But back to the football, to probably stress ourselves out a little bit, Rob. Let's have a look at recent form of both the Sadlers and the Gills. Last six for the home side. Salford, Swindon, Wimbledon, Bradford, MK Dons and Sutton is the last half a dozen for Matt Sadler's men, and they have picked up 7 points from 18 in that period. Good wins against Salford and Bradford, a 0-0 draw against MK Dons, but then a couple of steps back last weekend, 4-0 down at first during the first half against basement boys Sutton, and that was how it remained. Gills have played Harrogate, Morecambe, Doncaster Rovers, Mansfield, Crewe and MK Dons in the same period and taken 10 points from 18. That is 3 wins, a draw and 2 defeats. Currently 17th, Walsall. Rob, Gills are currently 3rd, still very early on in the season, but just how much of a setback was that performance and that result at Sutton last week after, a decent draw against MK Dons and a win against Bradford? That was 4 points from 6 to then go to Sutton and get absolutely slapped all over the park. Must have been massively frustrating.
Yeah, but that's the life of a Walsall fan, I'd say, especially recent years.
Probably the life of a lower league fan in general, isn't it?
Yeah, we never did I expect to be 4-0 down to a team that got 4 points all season after 37 minutes or whatever it was. But once I'd seen the first goal going pretty early on, thought we could be in for a bit of a ride. And we were 4-0, 37 minutes. I mean, we drew the second half, so we did well. But
you've got to look for the positives.
Well, yeah, there's not many to take from it. But I mean, in terms of the other results, Bradford, all my mates at work, I was saying, get your money on Bradford to win by 4 or 5. So we haven't won there for 10 years. That was a bit of a shock. Salford, we don't do too well against. Beat them. So yeah, gave me a bit of confidence heading into Saturday. But then, of course, typical Walsall, we go to the bottom of the league or a team that hasn't won for X amount of games and give them a bit of a boost. So it's kind of more like 2 steps forward and then 4 steps back, really. So a bit frustrating.
Of course, yeah.
But not being pessimistic, we're kind of used to it. I mean, it's not what we're after. It's not what we're looking for. And it makes no sense that we can go away to Bradford and kind of beat them and then turn up at Sutton and get hammered. But it's League Two for you, I suppose.
Yeah, and we hear people say that everyone can beat everyone. But again, you can't help but be frustrated and fed up and annoyed at the fact that the team that's not won since the opening day against a side that had 10 men for 70 minutes as well. But it's done. I suppose all you can do now is hope for reaction.
Yeah, I mean, we played the trophy game, ironically enough, against Forest Green, who I think are actually bottom after we gave Sutton 4 goals. Change team, yes. Opportunity to put a bit of confidence back into the players, yes. Drew 1-1, lost on penalties. So, yeah, not great. we're in a bit of
Yeah,
a rush minute, it seems, and not particularly looking forward to Saturday, really. But obviously, you've got your own kind of upheaval, which, I mean, as we've spoke on Twitter, kind of privately, rightly or wrongly, kind of
yeah.
sack Neil Harrison, looking for another manager, but like you say, third in the table, so bit
Yeah,
of a
and
win.
even when we was eighth and we sacked him, I was of the opinion that it was too soon. I think the timing of it was very strange, regardless of whether you was wanting Harris gone or not. Because for me, it's putting so much pressure on the new manager immediately, because you're saying you've got to finish in the top 7 as a minimum to be an upgrade on what Neil was doing. I get there were issues, totally. Goal scoring, inability to come from behind and win football matches in the league. But it's a big call. It's a bold call. And it's probably the first slightly contentious decision that the Gallinsons have made since coming in. But like we've all said, proof's only in the pudding come end of the season when we find out where we ultimately finish. So long way to go before we get an answer to the question as to whether it was the right call. Regarding your manager, though, Matt Sadler, I've seen in recent days, obviously, there's question marks over him because of the nature of the defeat.
Yeah.
Where are you sitting in terms of Matt Sadler and the Walsall boss? Does he deserve time, or are there massive concerns moving forward?
It's a tough one. Everybody kind of expected it to be him, just because of the way that Walsall tend to operate. Obviously, we've got semi-new now, American, Canadian owners, a bit like yourselves. It's interesting, really, to see the difference between the two. So, obviously, Trivella or Trivella, whatever you want to call them, have come in and took the reins here, and everybody was expecting a big change in the way things were done. But yeah, Matt Sadler got appointed, cheap option, potentially yes guy, maybe. Rumours are that I think Matt Jordan, he's like the director of football or something or other, had come up with like like a set of principles and rules and ways that we were going to play and things that were going to happen and stuff that he was going to take control of and what Matt Sadler would deal with and not deal with. And I think he was the only guy, supposedly, as the rumours go, that would agree to what the club wanted. So is he a yes man? Potentially. But does he deserve time? Yes, I guess. I suppose every manager new into a role deserves a bit of time. But given our position at the moment, given our kind of struggles to go anywhere in the last few years, it's getting a bit frustrating now with the fan base. And it's not necessarily just Matt Sadler, it's previous managers before that. I mean, we've had managers with decent track records, like Flynn did well at Newport, Darrell Clark did well, Bristol Rovers, and they failed. So is it the managers or is it the people behind? We've had different chairmen, obviously, since with the different appointments. But yeah, it's a bit of a 50-50, really. For me personally, he doesn't seem like a manager. I mean, he's worked with the lads for a few years. He's possibly mates with a few of them from previous clubs or from working with them at Walsall. And does that work? It's kind of like in any line of work. If you've been mates with somebody for so long and then you make the step into being a head coach or a manager or whatever you want to, can you actually manage those people? Because there's got to be a line drawn somewhere, and it's hard to draw it, really.
Of course, yeah. But the flip side is you're one win away from the top 10 looking at the table. It's still very early in the season, isn't it? Which, again, going back to our sacking, is what makes it all the more strange, at least for me. I understand other people saw it differently. You then had to deal with one player retiring right at the end of the window, which isn't ideal, regardless of the reasons. And I know Chris Hussey had his reasons, but for me, in the summer, it looked like a decent addition to the squad, along with Priestley, Farquharson from Newport. I thought they were two upgrades at centre back.
Yeah.
And then you've had to obviously rip that up and go back to square one. Just how much of an impact has that had on things, the retirement of Chris Hussey?
It left us a bit short. Was a bit of a weird one. Like you say, he came out and said that he'd got a job, and obviously the job had turned up now, and it was kind of important for him and his family that he carried on. And I think a lot of Walsall fans got the knickers in a twist, thinking that he'd actually said he'd retired from football permanently, because I think he signed for Stratford Town, which is obviously part-time.
Yeah, of course.
Bit around his job. Is he a miss? I would say so. He's an experienced head. Came in with a good rep from Stockport.
Yeah, of course.
I'm pretty sure the last game he played for us, he actually got sent off. But as an experienced kind of older head, definitely a miss. Like I say, it left us short. Obviously, we've had injuries to other defenders, which has left us very, very short. And yeah, that's kind of where we are at the minute. So Farquharson's out injured. I think he's been out injured twice potentially this season already.
He's only played 4 games in the league. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was injured, came back, and then he's got a little knock again. Supposedly, was supposed to be out for a few months. Some people are saying it's not as bad. Fingers crossed it's not, because we've got a kid on loan from Stoke. I think he's injured. Taylor Allen, who's kind of a left wing type player, he got a red card. He was suspended for 3 games, but I think he's back this week. So yeah, it's very interesting. We're very, very low on defenders, and obviously with Hussey retiring, it didn't really help anything really. So
yeah, we was in a similar position a few weeks ago with midfielders. We had the likes of I think we had Ethan Coleman suspended, Dom Jeffries injured, Tim Dieng injured. There was a couple of others that were struggling with knocks and playing not fit. Thankfully, from our point of view, they're starting to clear up, but we've got a couple of people unavailable in key areas this week, which we'll get to in a little while. Final question before we start looking specifically at Saturday and team news and that type of thing and potential 11s is the curious case of Danny Johnson. Superb on loan first half of last season from Mansfield, 15 in 30 games or so, and you look the real deal with him in the team. That was my opinion from the outside looking in. He obviously then got recalled and ended up sitting on their bench for the second half of the campaign, which was almost like a double kick in the nuts for you Sadler's fans, because they've taken him away and then he's not even playing.
Yeah,
I suppose it'd have been easier to deal if he'd gone back to Mansfield and played and kept scoring. But this season scored 2 in his first 3 games, but then hasn't been a regular by any stretch of the imagination, and seems to have sort of been usurped by young Freddie Draper, who you've got on in from Ireland. I think it was at Drogheda.
Yeah, Lincoln. He was at Drogheda on loan from Lincoln, I think, and then he's come back from there and they gave him a 4-year contract, and then he's been sent on loan to us.
And he started really well, so you can't say that Sadler's getting it wrong in terms of playing Freddie Draper to lead the line. But what's the feeling around Danny Johnson? Because obviously you must have all been super excited when you come back and got him on a permanent in the summer.
Yeah, it was a weird one. We always knew Mansfield were going to recall him and play silly buggers. They were never going to play him. Him and Clough didn't get on whatsoever. And then, yeah, quite surprised he came back. But he's a goal scorer. There's been question marks I've read about his attitude at certain places.
Okay.
There's been rumours that he's fell out with Sadler, which is why he's not starting. I think he started on Saturday against Sutton, but didn't do a lot. He came on in the trophy yesterday, missed a penalty in the shootout. But yeah, there's rumours of a bit of discontent whether Sadler's fell out with him or not. Not sure, but he's
okay.
When he's on his game, he's a goal scorer, which for League Two is a rarity, really.
Oh yeah, like gold dust. That's it. If you get older, you cling on for grim death, don't you?
But yeah, he's Draper's coming. He's only a kid. I think he's 18, 19. He's built a lot bigger than an 18, 19-year-old, and he can bully defenders already at League Two. And if he carries on the way he's going, he'll do pretty well. He'll go quite high, I think. But yeah, the Danny Johnson sitting on a bench. There's got to be something wrong.
Okay.
Some of our fans think he doesn't fit into the system potentially. But like you say, when he was there last season, obviously it was a slightly different system, but it was basically Danny Johnson scored or Walsall nil.
Gills for the first half of last season. It was just Gills nil.
So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Not quite sure what's gone on, but hopefully he can get his shooting boots back on and knock a few goals in. And if he has fell out with Sadler, prove him wrong. That's
it. Yeah, that's what you'd hope, I suppose. If there is question marks over the attitude, that he thinks, right, I'll get my head down and prove everybody wrong and knuckle down a bit harder than perhaps he is at the moment. But yeah, it was just one that's jumped out the page at me, because obviously he came in with real pedigree and hasn't scored since August. So I thought I'd ask the question. Home form is solid, if spectacular, so far this season for Walsall. It's 2 wins, 2 draws and a defeat, and I think it's 5 scored and 5 conceded. So it doesn't point to goalfest at the weekend, certainly with us coming into town, because we don't score loads. Again, that's one of the reasons why Neil Harris has ultimately fallen on his sword. but I think you've only picked up 1 point in the last two. So is that cause for concern a little bit, or?
You would say so. At the start of the season, we were doing all right. We were scoring goals. Well, say we're doing all right. We were scoring goals, but we were conceding a lot as well. It's just one of those really odd ones. I mean, your home form should be what either keeps you in the division or propels you to be kind of chasing playoffs or promotion. But I think a lot of Walsall fans expect a lot more. But in reality, I guess we are an old fourth division club, if you like. So we're kind of where we deserve to be, where we should be, maybe where we would be if you compiled a historical list potentially. Maybe we should be League One, but we're very mediocre, and it seems like we're going to have a very mediocre season again. Like I say, home form's 2-2-1. I think the league form's something like 4-3-4 or something like that. But the last few seasons have been the same. We've kind of been in the middle, same amount of wins, losses, draws. And yeah, it's a bit weird because we hadn't. I mean, talking home form, our away form was abysmal. I think we beat Swindon on Boxing Day last year, and until we beat Salford the other week, we hadn't. I think we got 7 points out of all of our away games since Boxing Day. So it's a good job
relying on the home form at the moment, then to try and, like you say, to keep you at least where you are.
That's with the Sutton thing. I thought, we'll go there and have a bit of confidence because we've been to Salford, been to Bradford, beat both of them away. But who knows? I mean, we've going back to Sadler. He's not the kind of guy that comes across to me as the kind of guy that's gonna, like an Alex Ferguson, give you a hairdryer or give you a roasting if you've not done something or whatever. He's more of to me, he seems more like the Sven-Goran Eriksson, really softly spoken. Will try and get his point across, but maybe not enforce it with his tone. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe the players need somebody who's a bit more of an enforcer and will tell them what needs to be told.
Of course, yeah. That's it. Again, time will ultimately tell, won't it?
We'll see. There's not much. I mean, when you look at the sidelines, when you're there at games and kind of watching on the sidelines, Sadler doesn't seem to do much talking or arranging in comparison to like previous managers. And obviously, we've got Gary Waddock as well as the assistant. He seems to be up more than Sadler. So there's our next appointment, by the way. Get your money on it when Sadler's sacked. It'll be Gary Waddock. Normally the Walsall way.
Well, yeah, maybe not just yet though. But obviously, if we push him closer to the sack by winning 3 points at the weekend, I'll be more than happy. As much as I don't like seeing managers get sacked. In terms of team news, we're recording on a Wednesday, which I say every week. So obviously we're a day out from the official press conferences. But Gills will have no Tim Dieng, knee injury, no Ollie Hawkins heel, no Shay Alexander, international duty, which doesn't happen too often for the Gills. He's away with St Lucia. Ashley Nadersson, I can't see being available. He rolled his ankle in the win against MK Dons last Saturday, and Scott Malone suspended for accumulating 5 yellow cards. So there'll be a couple of changes for Gills. There's a couple of question marks as well over Sean Williams and George Lapsley. So, but I can't see us going too far away from the 4-2-3-1/4-4-2 that Keith Millen employed last Saturday and what Neil Harris has effectively employed most of the season. So for me, I think it'll be Jake Turner in goal for Gills. Going to be changes defensively. Robbie McKenzie and Max Clark, I think, will come in at fullback due to the absence of Malone and Alexander. I'd personally go with Max Amer and Shad Ogie at centre half. I don't think Connor Masterson's been at it this season, but I think Keith will probably persist with Ogie and Masterson as a pair. In front, I think it'll be Ethan Coleman and Dom Jeffries. Connor Mahoney will start. I think Tom Nichols will start and Macaulay Bond will start. So the only other change I can see is maybe Jaden Clark potentially dropping to the bench and Johnny Williams coming in from one of the sides. Where are we with, you've already mentioned a couple of injury doubts for Walsall, but do you see wholesale changes after last week's car crash, or do you think it'd be a case of sending out the sound players to try and right the wrongs of last Saturday?
Not entirely sure. It could just be picked out of a bingo machine. Supposedly the keeper Donovan Daniels took a couple of knocks, so they're going to be looked at.
Okay.
which is going to be a big loss if Donovan Daniels is out, because that's another centre back down. If the keeper's out, we've got a reserve keeper signed from Wolves in the summer. He's okay. Not sure if Liam Gordon's available. He's on internationals with Guyana. So if he's not there, that's our left back or left wing back gone. So it very much depends on whether they're allowed to play and whether Gordon's still here. And if not, then it's anybody's guess. I mean, looking up front against Sutton, Jamil Matt played with Johnson. Obviously, like I say, Johnson's been a bit part player, really. Draper had a hamstring injury, supposedly.
Okay.
Which is why he was on the bench and didn't get used. Jamil Matt his legs seem to have gone. I think he was thrown in against Sutton because obviously his physicality is quite big and strong, but his legs seem to have disappeared.
Okay.
Which is quite worrying considering 2 years ago he was one of the top scorers in League Two. It literally could be anything. We've got Oshin McKenty, who came in as a centre back, but Sadler seems to like in a bit of a defensive midfielder role.
Okay.
So he's an option that could go centre back if Daniels is out. It depends on formation as well. I mean, Sadler's been favouring a 3 or a 5 at the back, so 3-5-2, 5-3-2, whatever you want to call it. Because of the injuries and stuff recently, he's gone 4 at the back. He might switch back to a 3. A couple of players have come back from injuries. Roland Menayeze. He's been out for ages. He got injured on loan at Hartlepool. I think it was an ACL or something similar. He's been out for some months. He's back on the bench on Tuesday. Brandon Conley's back. He's another defensive midfielder. He got on Tuesday, came on as a sub, and apparently looked decent when he was on. And then, yeah, it's such a strange thing to be saying, but literally, I couldn't even tell you a starting 11. It could be anything. Centre midfield wise, I'd imagine Ryan Stirk will play. Signed from Birmingham. He looks pretty good. Signed as a replacement for Liam Kinsella, I guess, but he's more kind of combative and has a wider range of skills, let's say.
Okay.
I'd say as long as he's fit, he'll play. We've got Ross Tierney on loan from Motherwell. Seems like a decent player, but who knows? I honestly can't tell you a starting 11. If he's fit, Owen Evans will be in goal. Donovan Daniels will play if he's fit. And Ryan Stirk. And other than that, it's anyone's guess.
Sounds like a really good time to be playing you, but historically, when Gills pitch up to games like that, it goes horribly wrong. But let's hope we'll have a bit more about us.
It's a bit of a. I don't think he actually knows what his best team is. Obviously, the defensive injuries aren't helping, but I don't think he actually knows what his best formation is, his best team is, and how to make them play as a team. Which could be a new manager thing, but it's quite worrying, especially when you're in League Two. And if you go the wrong way, then it's a long way back. Especially it would be for us if we got relegated. We wouldn't be coming straight back up.
I said exactly the same about us last season before the takeover. I was convinced we were going into the National League, and I said we'd have been down there for years if we had gone.
Yeah. I don't think we wouldn't be like Scunthorpe. I don't think we'd double dip.
No, but I don't think it's a league that you generally don't go into it and come straight back up the other way. It's a horrible league.
Like Oldham or someone like that.
Yeah, Wrexham, Notts County. It's taken them donkeys years to come back, hasn't it? So it's it's a horrible league, and it's certainly not one for the faint-hearted. But obviously, aside from Saturday, I hope you pick up. I don't like seeing teams relegated, but
yeah, I
want our own team to win on Saturdays or Tuesday nights, don't we? One final question, Rob, before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening, is the dreaded score prediction.
Christ. I'd be tempted to put a 5 on 0-0, to be honest. Like you said, you don't score that many. At the start of the season, we were scoring a few and letting in a load. It's either going to be 0-0. I'll give you 3. So if it's going to be a draw, I reckon it'll be a 0-0. If we're going to win, it'll be 1-0, 2-1. And if we're going to lose, it'll be 3 or 4-0.
Won't be 3 or 4. If it was 3 or 4-0 to us, I'll be more than happy, but I can't see it.
Sutton weren't expecting to score 4 on Saturday, that's for sure.
True, I suppose. Yeah, that's one thing we've got to look at.
But
I'm going to stick with the old cliche of if you draw your away games and win majority of your home games, you'll be there or thereabouts.
yeah, I mean,
I
if you've
don't think our record's great at your place. I remember turning up. I came up last season for the game in March, and I don't think you'd won since January, and we got rolled over 2-0, absolutely awful. So I'm not going to get too excited.
Any team on a bad run, sign us up. We'll give you the 3 points. We did it the other year when Scunthorpe got relegated that season. However many games they won that season, I think they beat us twice.
We used to have a phrase for us, which was generous Gills. Any team that had not won for months, just go and play us. And I've gone for 1-1. I think, again, I know it's a cliche, but I think first goal could be massive because if we can get it and quieten the crowd or get the crowd on your boys' back, then I think we'll be all right. But if you get it and the crowd gets on side, then it could be a difficult afternoon because regardless of Neil Harris going now, we've still got this monkey to get off our back, is that we've only won one league game from behind when conceding the first goal in about 2 years.
We'll help you. You can have a second.
Rob, as always, it's been a real pleasure, mate. Appreciate you coming on.
No worries. Cheers.
Gills fans and Walsall fans, as I say at the end of every episode, thank you for watching and listening this far. Your support is always greatly appreciated. So please keep liking, subscribing, retweeting, sharing, commenting, and doing all that you do. We'll not be travelling up to the Midlands this weekend. I need some time indoors, so I will be watching on the Delights. That is the one camera I follow. I will be back Sunday, though, with Reese and I think Simon from Sadler's TV or Walsall Fan TV. Sorry if I've got that slightly wrong, to recap all the events from Saturday afternoon. Again, thank you for all the love you have shown this week with regards to my mental health battles. My DMs are always open if anyone is struggling. Please always remember you are not alone and it is okay to not be okay. We will see you at the weekend. And until next time, up the Gills.